Somewhere beyond the recesses of time and space, two podcasters are set adrift in a machine, picking up transmissions of movies that are forgotten but not gone.
Welcome everyone to Movie Memory Machine 5-4, the miniseries where we pick 5 films thematically related to this week's movie. And we have got a lineup for you today that I am personally excited about. But I am your host, Landen Solano, joined always by my co-host, Truman Caps. Truman, it's great to see you today.
Landon, it's great to be seen. It's so great, in fact, that it smells like cake.
Delicious.
I was a huge fan of Gretel and Hansel. Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess I had some complaints about the movie, but compared to most of the movies we've talked about, I thought it was spectacular, and I'm excited to see what other movies kind of capture that same spooky, stylish vibe.
Yes, you took me to task a little bit for the depths of research that I went to, and I don't know, I tried not to take it personally, just because they are the type of films I normally am watching, i.e., 1970s Czech animation. But let's see what we have in store for us today. Should we get started with our first film?
Yes, let's go. Oh, Lemora, A Child's Tale of the Supernatural. The longer a movie title gets, the more questions I have. I've never heard
That's
of this.
That's fair. I feel like most people haven't. This is a pretty obscure horror flick. And I don't even want to call it a horror flick. It's one of these, like, Guillermo del Toro-esque, like, dark fantasies through a child's eyes sorts of films. And it just really captures, I think, the thematically, if we're talking about Gretel and Hansel, the same sort of distorted lens that you look at, the kind of scared lens, or like the I don't fully understand the world lens that is kind of applied to Gretel and Hansel. And just like Gretel and Hansel goes to those weird places of being chased by a zombie and a mother coming at you with an axe, this film also kind of has these weird dalliances with witches and just strange travelers along the way.
So it's less about everything making logical sense in terms of what came before or what came after, and it's more just about the feelings in the moment. It's a journey into, like, imagery and situations that are scary, not a cohesive storyline of scares that make sense.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. This is not, like, if you haven't seen Suspiria, the original Suspiria, go see that. Like, check out the like all of the mainstay horror films first, and then if you're still like, oh, I really enjoy the horror vibe, the offbeat horror vibes, then start to seek out stuff like this. This is like the upper crust of the stuff that is, kind of under the dust.
Is Lin-Manuel Miranda on the podcast with me right now? Because that would be truly frightening.
But I do recommend this one, so feel free to check it out. I think I found it on Tubi at the time.
Wow. Okay, Lemora, A Child's Tale of the Supernatural. File it away.
Here we go to the next one.
Oh, Beauty and the Beast, but not the animated one from the 90s, it seems. This actually seems to be quite an old movie based on the images I'm seeing.
1946, I guess you can call that quite an old movie, but La Belle et la Bête, this is Jean Cocteau, classic Beauty and the Beast, my preferred version of Beauty and the Beast. Just rife with surreal imagery. Like, this film and Gretel and Hansel feel similar in the kind of uncanny environment that the characters exist in, the witch's house or the beast's castle.
And is this fully animated? I'm trying to see from the imagery here. It looks so surreal. I can't tell if these are people in heavy costumes or if this is hand drawn.
This is live action, just beautiful costuming, beautiful makeup, beautiful set direction. There's like this corridor of I'm sure you've seen it in films since, but they take it from this film, where it's a corridor of like candelabras, but they're all hands, holding them. But then, like, at a certain moment, all of the hands move, and you like, oh, there's like people behind that wall putting their arm through a hole, holding the candles. It's beautiful. It's so good.
There's 50 extras, all of them holding flaming objects that they cannot see, doubtless sweating just a little bit in case anything burns too close to the hand.
1946. Yeah, this is another one that's like dark fantasy, a parable. You know, it's just like the best sort of fantasy, non-child-like fantasy that you can conjure.
Would you say that this had, I mean, are there artistic parallels between this one and the animated film that Disney later made that was a child's fantasy? There were no visual cues that they took from it. There was nothing that this didn't influence that later more popular work.
I mean, I'm sure the filmmakers had seen this, but no. I mean, that is... They actually couldn't be further removed from each other. This is directed by Jean Cocteau, famous poet, artist, iconoclast. He has no Disneyfication in him at all. And so this is a pure work of... And I know I don't like the auteur theory, but... Specifically, I don't like that the auteur theory is the only lens at which to look at films. This is a film where that tends to make a little bit more sense, because he is just like, this is a film of expression, not a film of, trying to generate also a platinum selling soundtrack and a Broadway musical production.
But the ice show adaptation of this that they did in the 1950s that played big at hockey arenas all over the country, right?
Only in France.
Well, that doesn't surprise me one bit. Okay, cool. Beauty and the Beast. Let's keep moving.
On to the next. Oh, Truman.
Oh boy, I can't wait. Beauty and the Beast, 1978. Okay. Now, did this one have any parallels or ties to the one from the 90s that was nominated for Best Picture?
Again, no, not at all. But I think it does have parallels to Gretel and Hansel, because this is very much like, if you were doing the Disney version of Gretel and Hansel, it's the candy house of the witch is like bright and colorful and inviting, and Osgood Perkins takes the very like gritty, it's not made of like red licorice that draws the eye in. No, it's made of like slimy black licorice. If it's made of licorice at all, which we talked about.
Yeah. If it's made of black licorice, it draws the sickos and freaks like us, the only two people who like black licorice.
Yeah, this is a dirty film. This film is just like shot in like decrepit, dilapidated European castles. Like, I feel like you'd get tetanus watching this movie.
That's a ringing endorsement of this film. Be sure to be up on your shots before you pop in Beauty and the Beast. Does this have like a horror element to it as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, again, leaning more into the dark fantasy than the horror, but this definitely isn't shying away from like the terrifying nature of the beast and like what that curse of like if a person was actually turned into a beast, not just the oh no, I'm hideous and need to hide myself away from the world, the Doctor Doom aspect of it that the Disney version has, but like this beast is out in the wilderness, like hunting deer and bringing him back to the castle, and like there's a bloodlust to it. I mean, that's kind of painting it out incorrectly to a degree, but like it doesn't shy away from that stuff. The story itself is still kind of delicate, this delicate romance between the two of them, but it's that balance of things that I think has a thematic connection to Gretel and Hansel.
Wow. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of powerful, and it has so many parallels to the modern day. A man becoming a terrible beast, much like a once ordinary man became Mr. Beast, who was an awful, terrible monster.
But I highly recommend you check out this one as well. 1978, it is from Czechoslovakia. That is 100% my shit. So
Get on board the Czechoslovakian art film train.
Let's keep on moving, shall we?
Yes, choo-choo.
Another of my all-time... You get two of my all-time favorite films this week.
Oh my gosh. Wait, is this going to be Beauty and the Beast 3? The Innocents. I'm not familiar with this movie either. A black and white film from 1961. What's The Innocents?
Directed by Jack Clayton with beautiful cinematography by Freddie Francis, a director in his own right who did a lot of Hammer films. And he did the cinematography for The Elephant Man. Just a weird connection. This is based on Henry James' Turn of the Screw, one of my all-time favorite books. And it stars Deborah Carr as the governess who goes to see... Well, okay. Are you familiar with The Haunting of Bly Manor, the Mike Flanagan Netflix series?
I'm not familiar with that Mike Flanagan series. Like, I know that it got made. I haven't seen that one, but I'm familiar with what his whole deal is. And
Yeah. Based on the same source material. A governess goes to an old manor to look over two children who are maybe possessed by the former caretaker who has died on the grounds.
Word of advice to our listeners, especially the ladies, if you get the opportunity to be a governess for a couple of children in a really old big house, maybe don't do it, because I don't think I've ever heard a story of that situation turning out in a good way for the governess.
I would say do it, because that sounds like a fun adventure.
Yeah, it's a fun adventure for you to hear about, guy who lives outside the horror community. Not a fun adventure for... The governess in the moment is not like, wow, I'm going to remember this forever.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I'm not her. I can't speak for her, nor will I deign to.
Good.
This is just such a beautiful and... Okay. There are two movies, one that we've already mentioned on the show before, that have the scariest depiction of ghosts to me. Okay. One of them was Pulse, the Japanese horror film by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, and the second one is this one. The way they depict the spectral body is just so terrifying to me.
Okay, so it's not just a superimposed man with a white sheet over him. They've got some kind of effect. I mean, this is a movie from the early 60s, so whatever the effect is probably practically achieved.
There's no effect at all. It's all done through just editing, really. And you only see the ghosts in like a super wide shot. There's a moment when she is kind of she's by like this riverside with one of the kids, and she looks across the river or the lake, the creek, whatever it is, and there's just this woman in black standing there, totally still, looking at them, and you can't like make out the details of her face really. It's just she's there, and you see it through Deborah Carr's perspective. Like, is she really there? Is she seeing things? She looks back. The ghost doesn't ever move. It's just there staring at you, and then it's not there.
That seems terrifying, and it's one more reason I'm never going to become a governess. Or a governor, for that matter.
So if you're interested in some of my all-time favorite films, I can't recommend The Innocents enough, and I didn't even touch on the reasons really why I love this movie.
Was I doing too many goofs about governesses? You can go back and talk about your favorite things about the movie.
This is just to entice people. Go watch it and develop your own opinions.
Yeah, first one's free, kid. Okay, on to the next.
All right. The next one is a bit of a reach, I'll admit, but here's what I got.
Midsommar. Okay. I know that I need to see this movie. Everyone says it is great. I still have not. You say that you live outside the horror community. I live in a completely different community that is like red-lined off from it, and I'm not allowed to go in.
Yeah.
And this is an Ari Aster film who has had quite a glow up lately in terms of his fame and success.
Yes.
How do you see this movie connecting to Gretel and Hansel?
I think it's more okay. So two things. One is the like folk aspect of it. Like, we don't necessarily have to adhere to, like, the logic and rationale of the human mind necessarily, because we're telling a folktale. And the isolation of the characters allows them to better inhabit that what would maybe otherwise be irrational behavior because they live in this kind of fantasy world. Granted, Gretel and Hansel is like genuinely a fantasy world, and Midsommar starts in the real world. And they never leave the real world, but they are isolated on this, Scandinavian, cult property. So it's that, and then it's just the kind of relentless building of dread. I mean, obviously Midsommar is builds to a much bigger climax than Gretel and Hansel does, but there is just that kind of similar pacing, maybe on different but parallel wavelengths. It does kind of follow that same, like, oh, okay, there's no real release ever. It's just kind of mounting and mounting and mounting.
I feel like one of the things that resonates most with me in horror is the sense of isolation, and I think it's almost scarier for me when the horror movie isn't taking place in some sort of dreamlike fantasy environment, but when it very much takes place in our real world, but it's just people who have become so far removed from the rest of society that madness can kind of take root. This is, a huge fan of The Shining talking here, and isolation is such a huge component of that like once you get far enough away from other people, there's kind of a new set of rules and a new set of moral boundaries that take root.
Yeah, knowing how you are with horror films, like Midsommar, I find it hard to classify it as a horror film. I think you'd really respond to this. It doesn't play on any of the things you've told me that you are averse to.
Yeah. Great.
Though
Great.
There is a moment when someone pulls a hair out of their mouth, so just be aware of that.
Okay. Well, look, if I just turned away from every movie that ever had anything slightly upsetting to me in it, I would not watch any movies. So, okay. Well, look, I always am saying, oh, I should see that. Oh, I should see that. I truly should see this one. So hopefully by the next time we talk, I have.
I will say I think you should see every single film we've talked about today. This is a rare 5-4 where every single one gets my glowing recommendation. Go check them out. And that's all I've got for this week. So I guess until next time, for Truman Caps, I've been Landen and Solano.
And for Landen and Solano, I've been Truman Caps. Go eat some houses in the woods.
Or some hair.
Oh.
Movie Memory Machine is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/gruntworkpod to keep the machine running. Theme song by Porky's Groove Machine. Rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. For more information on today's show, visit MovieMemoryMachine.com.